Hi everyone, Gig Coach Jake here, your go-to for gig economy news, tips, and tricks. And today I want to talk about DoorDash and the new changes that they're making. We received emails last week regarding these changes based off the roundtable discussions that they had last March. Now there were surveys that were sent out to the Dashers ranking 1 through 10 what we felt were the most important things. Supposedly they met with many drivers, Dashers, in San Francisco, Austin, and Chicago in the coming months discussing all this stuff. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Now the purpose of these surveys were to approve across a range of areas for Dashers. Now, Dashers value transparency, consistency, and fair earnings, says DoorDash in the email. Well, of course, that's a no-brainer. Those were the biggest things that were screamed and talked about. Now the current model, you don't have to gamble hoping for an order with a big tip, was also said in the email. This is true. Now with the way that it's set up, yes, it sucks that we only get $1 base pay. It should be $3 in my opinion. And some of these offers where they're paying way higher than they need to on like subsidized, right? For example, I had one yesterday that paid over $12, zero tip for 3 items. It was literally less than $30 worth of food. $10 would have been sufficient enough. Take that $2 and add it to a base pay for someone that got $1. I would have been totally happy and okay with that. What this does, it allows for less variance and chance. Now think about it, if you're a Dasher that just got nothing but no tip offers all week and you did 100 deliveries. That sucks, right? And if they didn't subsidize on these low tip, no tip offers, your earnings would be in the crapper. Yes, they're already low, but just imagine that. Now, those that are smart and that pick based off distance and also the bill total, knowing that there's a default tip of 15% and the lowest tip is 10% or custom, it gives them a good idea to find out the payouts that are higher. Work smarter. I always talk about this. Yes, DoorDash has its pros and its cons. It can be very bad, but if you work it smart and right, this app can be a phenomenal source of income in unison with, say, Grubhub or any one of the other ones. Now back to the changes. The Dashers prioritized, again, 1 through 10, how to make things better. Now, supposedly, again, this is our feedback that they're using. Now, we all know that they're going to use some of it, but it's going to be in their best interest. And again, with this pay model, I don't think that they can raise up that $1. The changes they have made will allow us to make more money, and I'll talk about that in just a second and why and how. With that pay model of the $1, they have a lot of venture capitalists, right? They're not a profitable company yet, like Grubhub, for example. They cannot afford to pump that extra money. They need to keep showing numbers and profits to keep the valuation going up and keep things trending in the right way. Then they will be able to incorporate something down the road that will pay us fair and better wage. Now that's really going to be forced their hand when, if and when, Amazon buys out Grubhub. Think about that. $7 minimum on delivery, $18 guaranteed per hour, minimum. Right now, DoorDash cannot compete with that. They would have to raise the pay model. So let's hope that happens. In the meantime, we can make better choices. Use your widget. If you don't know what the widget is, jump in my Facebook group. Links below in the description. I have an Arizona only, so if you're not in Arizona, please don't jump in that one. I have a global. We have people from Canada. We'll have some people from Mexico, UK eventually, and a lot of people from the US. Very valuable information being shared as far as DoorDash and all the apps. Make sure you jump in those groups so you're not missing out. Now, the number one was earnings breakdown and transparency. Yes, that was the biggest deal, right? There was no transparency in the pay. There still isn't within the algorithm that figures out pay, and now Grubhub has a similar algorithm, right? Now they've created transparency in the pay summary. When you finish a dash and it ends, it'll show you the breakdown. It'll show the $1 clear as day, what the tip was, if any, and any additional pay that they add in there. And if there's peak pay, that'll be additional pay as well. There'll be 4 sections. They break this all down. So if you didn't have the email, I'll attach the links in the description below for all the information that they did give on the changes. And I'll get to the rest of it in just a second here. Post pay summary, you can also view this breakdown. Again, like I said, as soon as you finish the dash, before we saw the guarantee, what it was over guarantee, you could say, you know, happy face, sad face, and then add information. Now it's going to show you, again, that breakdown. Yes, if you're an iOS Apple user, You may not have it yet. They're starting to roll it out. In the coming weeks, expect to have that feature. Not everybody on iOS does. Android users already have this. Now, they already provided front-end transparency, right? They showed what the guaranteed amount was, the estimated time of the delivery, then drop-off, the location and address of the merchant. It's pretty funny how they throw that in there now that Grubhub, it was very specific. I mean, to talk about merchant location and address in there, it's kind of a dig at Grubhub, essentially saying that they're doing something that they always have that Grubhub is now not doing, without indirectly saying that. As well as the amount of items. So a lot of information that they've always shown, and the overall distance from where you're at to the drop-off, so to the merchant and the drop-off, not including any deadhead miles. The next was better earnings for longer distance deliveries and more deliveries closer to where you are. How they've addressed this, from what I've seen, my zone alone, they broke it up into more regions, more zones. That way, you don't have as big of a zone, you're less likely to have to travel farther. I've not seen anything aside of that that has been a change or a big change. Let me know in the comments or in the Facebook groups if you're experiencing some positive changes as far as this goes. I know other markets, they've broken those zones into bigger or smaller zones as well to address that. That's what they're doing. They're talking about in the coming months, they're going to be adding some type of promo or something to pay extra for these longer delivery distance. We're still seeing a lot of those, right? $20 for $7 or $10 or whatever the case may be. Just reject. I know some people are like, reject, move on. The faster you reject, the faster another one's coming in and turn on other apps, so you're not at the mercy of that one app. The next, better incentives. They've now created a promo button on the homepage, so up in the upper left, you can see the promos there when you're not on a dash. Then when you click on that screen, you'll be able to see a lot of this information right here as far as, yes, you see like, oh my God, there's a lot of peak pay for you right now. That's 4th of July. That's why there hasn't been hardly any peak pay in my market in Phoenix for a while. And if there is, it's like 1 or 2 zones. And you best believe it's probably almost impossible to get on the schedule or get on a dash now in those areas when they're running that peak pay. But they also let you know when the next peak pay is coming up. It gives you an idea of that. And then any promos like driver referrals will be on that there too. It will be a lot easier as well to hit some of these peak pay. They're talking about, they've been testing and working with ways to hit it easier. I know one thing that they tested and worked on was doing away with the acceptance rating. Think about that. If you didn't have to worry about accepting 85% of the deliveries on a peak pay, how much better off would you have been in those situations where you had to accept? It was stressful, right? To be able to pause, end a dash, there was games, it's like, it was all these games back and forth. So it's amazing that they're actually testing and thinking about doing away with that acceptance rating altogether and the 2 delivery minimum, yada yada. Essentially what it is a peak pay period. Higher demand, they need more supply, pay us extra, no matter whether we accept 1%, 85, 90%. That's how it should be. Look for that to come soon. The next is a big one, less wait time, which equals more money, right? We could be more efficient and get more deliveries per hour. In the email, it says they're focused on improving the timing of when a dasher is offered a delivery. I've definitely experienced this in my market. For example, Cheesecake Factory used to be a place where I could expect to wait 10 to 20 minutes on average. Up to 30 minutes sometimes. It was crazy. It was absurd. And it sucked because that was the one place where more often than not I could accept an offer and expect to get paid higher than the guarantee. Now the ones I've had in the last couple weeks, I show up and they're actually done. I was blown away the first time I showed up and they actually had the food there and the desserts ready. I couldn't believe it. Test it out. If you're not sure, go find out. See if your market has improved. Again, the faster, the more efficient that we can be. Think of it if you've averaged 3 deliveries per hour before on DoorDash and now they've increased the efficiency based on wait time, yada yada. Amazon was one of the best. Amazon restaurants was phenomenal with that. You could then up to maybe get 4 deliveries per hour, right? So that $5 you times 3 was $15 an hour. Now your 5 times 4 is $20 an hour. Yes, you should be making more than that $5 on deliveries if you're making smarter choices, but that's just an example. They want to provide an ongoing dialogue, and they're going to call it the Dasher Community Council, the DCC. Now this is going to be only 9 people selected. The requirements are 4.7 customer rating, 500 plus deliveries, and 90% completion rate as of June 26th. People have already applied for this. If you're watching this video, you're probably too late. And again, it was 9 people total across the whole US. They're going to help in testing things and in a sounding board for any changes that might be made in the future. That's a big deal, right? It gives an opportunity for dashers who are actually out there driving and doing stuff to give input. Now, does this mean it's going to be a positive and it's going to really help us? Not necessarily. And a great example of that is the Lyft Advisory Council that they have, the DAC, for their company. How much does that help drivers? They're losing prime time, they're losing pay. Again, what all this is there are concessions and a smokescreen attempt to please drivers, while things like Bill AB5 are going on in California. They could force them to reclassify as employer and us as employees. This company's worth a lot of money, but they cannot afford to classify and pay us all as employees. Yes, they'll be able to find a way, but they will lose a lot of profits, and the biggest deal for them is their profit margin. Now, last but not least, this is the biggest and the most beneficial change that they have made for all of you dashers. They're providing injury protection for you while you are on the app and logged in and working. What does this mean? You're going to have accidental occupational insurance while on delivery. Now, whether that means the app's on or you're on a delivery, I'm not 100%. I would imagine that means while your app's toggled on and you're actually working. I'm not 100%. Does not protect or cover bike and vehicle. It's completely separate. And it does not protect when you're not on the app. Keep that in mind. Huge protection, right? Think about those that are getting bit by dogs right now. I know someone that fell and they got tripped and screwed up their knee that potentially led to surgery. I never heard back on that. Things that can help a great deal. And I talked about like death pay and things. Make sure if you have not received or seen the email, go look in your spam. They send it out to every dasher and read more details up on this. Again, I think these are just their concessions and it's their smokescreen attempt to please drivers with all the stuff that's going on with potential reclassification of these gig companies. Big deal in California. My thought and take on that is, I hope in California that passes and they get reclassified, because this is going to force these companies to change and amend their ways so it doesn't happen in all the other states. Californians, they need it bad. They're broke, cost of living's high, and gas taxes just went up, and they don't even make any more in gig apps than we do here in Phoenix. It is crazy. Hope all this information helped. Again, check the description below for the links for the Facebook groups. Hop in those. A lot of great information. We could talk about the widget, how to get higher than guarantee. Good stuff, good strategies, all about winning, succeeding, and networking together. Screw all the drama and the nonsense. We'll save that for the other groups. You can also drop any comments below if you're not in the Facebook group, and email me, GIGCOACHJAKE@gmail.com. And you can find me on Twitter as well. Check the description. Hope this helped. If anything, give some of you a positive outlook on the future with DoorDash. Have a great day, evening, be safe out there, and as always, work smarter. #LowPayNoWay in effect.